Hey, what's happening, guys? Today we're taking a look at this crazy creation that I call Mr. Duino. So we start right here with an Atmega 328P, which is your basic Arduino chip. But we're going to put it all into a little credit card size board, something a bit smaller than an R3 but larger than a Nano because it's going to have some extra stuff. So if we start and we look right over here, what you see here is the power comes in through this power thing right here. You see this says goes off to the regulator, and that goes off to ground. So if you follow from the regulator here, that's our V in, there's our ground, and there's our VCC coming out, and this is a 7805. So VCC then comes into the switch here. When you flick it on, it goes out. It'll power up this LED right here to let you know that the thing is on. It also gives power to our reset button here, power to everything that goes on. So here is, again, there is our Arduino chip. And then over here connected to pins PB6 and PB7, which are pins 9 and 10, is our crystal oscillator and two 22 puff capacitors to make it work right. Now, for the extra stuff that I've added, we can start over here. We have two onboard switches. One is attached to D7 and one is attached to D8, and they will go with internal pull-ups. Over here we have some LEDs. We have 5 LEDs that you can hook up however you want. They are not connected into the Arduino in any way, so you would have to go from this header section over here to the LEDs, which is, not hard. Which leads us to our next section, which is the header section. You can see here we have all our pins, D2, D3, blah, 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 blah. And the ones that have the @ symbol next to them are our PWM pins, so that we know what's going on there. Now, since these are only the output pins and we need some grounds, I have found a space here where we can hook up 5 spare ground pins. There's one ground pin right here, but not a lot. So that's Mr. Duino. Oh, it also has a serial port here for communication. There's no USB with this, so you're going to need like an FDI chip or something to make it work the way we want. Are you with me so far? Good. Let's go now. And so here is the layout of the board. You can get a pretty good idea of what we're talking about here. If I bring in some dimensioning tools, let me shrink that up a little bit so we'll get a better idea here. What the heck? There we go. So we're looking at 44.5 millimeters width by 65 in length. So that should give you a pretty good idea of the size. And of course, it is a two-sided board. And again, like I said in the beginning, I call this Mr. Duino. Perhaps he's a more civilized version of the Arduino. I doubt it. I also threw in the open source hardware. You can put whatever you want in here. I don't care. So let's hide the top layer and look at our bottom layer. That's kind of hard to see it this way. Let's do it a different way. We'll just do the old 3D render. And of course, this is going to be black. So it's going to look a little something like this. On the front side, we have all of our resistors here, all of our capacitors here. There's our crystal. We have a reset switch, a switch for D7, a switch for D8. This is an error. These all have 1K resistors. And if we swing around to the back side, you can see it says this design is open source and may be modified to fit your needs. It has one hole right here, so you could stick it on a keychain if you were so inclined. What do you think? Pretty cool. I think it is. And as you can see from right here, this video is sponsored by PCBWay. So like I mentioned, this video is sponsored by PCBWay. They are a major sponsor of this channel, and they sponsor a lot of other channels because they like what they do, and they do it very well. Their turnaround time is just about 2 days. So you can get 5 boards under 100 by 100 millimeters for $5 plus shipping in about a week. I mean, how cool is that? And it's super easy to order. Instant quote, quick order. Upload your Gerber. Select how many you want, from 5 to 10,000. I'll go with 5. How many layers, your material, thickness, track spacing, what color solder mask, what color silk screen, whether or not you need an edge connector, what kind of finish you like. And you tick this little box here, and it says they might change the plain old lead finish to gold if they get the opportunity. So that's pretty nice in and of itself. How do you want your vias? How much copper you want? And they're going to put little identification numbers so they can put it through their system. But if you don't want it for $1.50, boom, they'll take it off. No worries. PCBWay. Alrighty, so here are the boards. Like I said, I just ordered 5 of them, see how it would come out. There we go, get it to focus. So we got our header strip along one side of the board with all our ins and outs. We have some extra grounds here, like I said. There's our serial input. There is our 5 LEDs, our resistors, our capacitor, our crystal, our voltage regulator, and there's our place for that Mega 328P. So all in all, I think they look really good. And there's the back side. Yeah, focus. There we go. There's that little identification number I told you about. For $1.50, they'll take it out. I personally don't care. So I think it looks pretty good. Let's get started building them. Let's see what we got going on here. So we're going to need a female header, female header, female header, 3 switches, some resistors, capacitors, crystal. I mean, it looks like a lot, but it's not a lot. I apologize for the crashing noises you hear. That is my absolute idiot of a next door neighbor who is a junk collector and brings all this garbage home and throws it in his yard and in the alley. Nothing the city will do about it. All right, let me get set up for soldering. All right, let's get our soldering party started. And we'll start with these here resistors. I am flat out of 10Ks, so the closest thing I've got is 8.2. Should be all right. This isn't critical as far as I remember. It's a pull-up for the reset switch, so that shouldn't be a problem. I've gone as low as 5Ks on pull-ups, so no big deal. Next up, we have this 470 ohm, which is a current limiting resistor.
for the power LED. And then we go to 1K resistors. And you know what? I'm going to swap this 470K for a 1K. We're going to go with all 1K on the LEDs. That will darken them up, or darken them down, rather, I guess, quite a bit, so they're not blinding you when you're trying to use this little board. So I think that's probably a pretty good idea. Now, if I actually had people I was working with, we could bounce such ideas off of each other, which is how the engineering process generally goes. But when you're all alone, you go, meh, that looks about right. Using my Mark 1 Mod 0 eyeballs. So that's why oftentimes when you work by yourself, things don't come out exactly as you had planned, because, you know, things happen. And with nobody to float your ideas off of, you're pretty much stuck with your own set of eyes, your own set of thoughts, and basically your own biases. It's very helpful to have somebody say, you know what, that don't look right, or hey, I don't think you could make it work that way, or try it this way. Those are all very helpful. And I would be most happy to receive any of that advice, but, you know, again, there's just me. So we do it on our own. And I would say we have a winning percentage, like the Steelers. We win more than we lose. There are quite a few losses, though. You don't see them. Like, I show you when I make mistakes and stuff. But I've had a couple boards that just totally muffed. And I just thrown them away. I'm just like, bah. We shall approach this with different thoughts from a different angle on a different day. Sometimes that's the best solution. The best excuse is what I was going to say. The best solution is just to walk away from something and approach it with fresh eyes on a different time, you know. Because, like, you know, if you are beating your head into the ground trying to complete a project, that's what you're doing. You're trying to complete it. You're not trying to look for the nuances and the subtleties that will either, you know, make a great project. I think we got a solder bridge there. We'll check it as soon as we finish these. You're just trying to get it done. And in my experience, that's not a terrific mindset to be in when doing highly technical work. Let's trim these. You shouldn't trim like this. You can do as I say, not as I do. But for prototyping, I'm cool with it. So I can't really tell. I thought we had one here. Yeah. I'll get it off. There we go. So all them guys are in. Where should we go next? Capacitors. We have a couple loading capacitors, 22 puff for our crystal. Why aren't you guys getting in the holes? Come on. So the Steelers 2022 season is over. Once again, Tomlin has a winning record, but, you know, no playoffs. I'm cool with that. These guys, you know, started off 2-6. They really turned it around. I think a lot of it had to do with the injuries very early in the season and not knowing which quarterback was going to be best for the team. But I think they've proven that Pickett is the man of the future. So I'm sure we'll see more of him. There we go. Man, I was having trouble getting them to sit in there properly. It's nice and warm in the Ohio Valley these last few days. So I can turn my soldering iron back down to 340. When it was super cold, I had to turn it up to 380 just to make anything work. That was crazy. I hope we don't get any more of that cold here. I don't mind a little snow. But that cold, man, that was something. Last time I can remember being that cold, I was in high school. And I know that because I was delivering pizza for a place here in town called D. Caesar's Pizza. And it was so cold that the delivery car wouldn't start. The delivery car wasn't all that great anyway. It was an old Ford Maverick. The joys of youth. Okay, where should we go next with Mr. Duino? We'll do the crystal next. How's that? 16 megahertz crystal. And it is, well, not just it, but all crystals are not polarized, so you don't have to worry about which way you pop them in. Use a little blue tack to hold that into the board. If you notice, before I solder, I tap a little bit of solder under the tip of the iron. I'll show you in just a second why. Okay, after I'm done soldering, I put the iron back here in its holder. Then when I pull it out, I clean it off so that the tip is perfectly clean. And that tip is, 340 degrees. It will melt solder. But if you just put a little bit on your tip, just tin it just a little, that little bit of solder on there will help with the thermal transfer and make things go much, much faster. All right, what next? Probably the switches. I've got our power switch right here. So we'll go ahead and put him in first. No problems. So I don't know if there's going to be a video tomorrow like I know you guys probably noticed last week we had videos every day. I'm hoping to get back into that. But tomorrow is my birthday. And I'm planning on going out. Well, not really going out, but, you know, hanging out with some friends tonight. And probably tying one on. So I might not be in just the best ever possible condition to produce a video tomorrow morning. So there may not be a video tomorrow. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There might be, there might not be. Hard to say. Okay, so next up, we'll put in our tack switches. And I've got 3 switches here for 3 places. And you can probably see pretty well. I got 2 tall ones and a short one. We're going to use the short one for the reset pin. And the tall ones for our pull-up switches. Like so. So let's get them soldered in next. I like to start by soldering opposite corners. Just gives me a place to make sure everything is, you know, tacked down in right, all that good stuff. Then we'll flip it over. Have a look, make sure everything is in place. And then we can go back and finish up. Having some sort of a, you know, a PCB holder in this type of situation is a very good thing. That allows you to place a little bit of pressure on what you're soldering. Which, you know, helps transfer the heat. You don't want to press hard, but you also just don't want to lay the soldering iron on it. It is somewhat difficult to describe exactly how much pressure you need for something, because that's kind of just like a experience will tell you kind of thing. Back when I was learning to fly in the early 2000s, I kept asking my instructor, like, how much rudder do you need to put in a turn? He said, enough so that the plane doesn't skid out. Well, how much is that? You'll see. So he'd say, you'll see. Have you ever heard the term flying by the seat of your pants? That's where that comes from. If you don't apply enough rudder in your turn, the rudder's the vertical piece of the tail, and you just bank the airplane, the ass end can skid out, and you'll feel that sliding. That's flying by the seat of your pants. All right, now we'll put our power LED in. We'll go with blue. There we go. Now I know that's not going to be sitting right, see? And that's okay. I can correct that. And that's why we only do one at a time, see? Hold that in place. Now it's correct. So Blake went back to school yesterday. Today's his first day of classes in the spring semester. We had to make a couple changes to his schedule. Okay, so we are getting there pretty well. What should we do next? Do the voltage regulator? We can do that. Yeah, I know it's going to need a heat sink. I don't like the way it's sitting. But for now, that's what we got. So let's get it soldered in. We'll make sure everything works. And then we can make our adjustments from there. Voltage regulators can be difficult to solder as they're probably more than 50% heat sink. Yeah, hopefully that'll be all right. All right, what are we going to do next? We need to put in some headers. This one's... Now, we need to do the LEDs before the headers, otherwise we'll be in a mess. One moment. The more I look at this, the more I hate it. I didn't really save any room to put it on the back. So, well, I guess we're stuck with that for now, which sucks. If there's any interest in me doing a Rev 2 on this, we'll either put in an SMD voltage regulator. Yeah, that's what we'll have to do. I was going to say, or we could move this to the back, but there's just not enough room. Trying to keep this board like credit card size or less. I don't know why, but I am. Get the blue tack out. Hold everybody in place. And away we go. So what would you guys like to see more of this year? Reviews, teardowns, that kind of thing. Basic circuits. We're not going to get into anything advanced here. Okay, did I not solder that one at all? This channel is for beginners. So we're keeping things pretty basic. If you want to get into some advanced electronics, I would suggest you watch some of like the radio repair channels. Like there's the Radio Shop, Mr. Carlson's Lab, Kiss Analog is another good one, though he seems to deal mainly in amplifiers, which is fine. I mean, that's probably what he did for a living, was amplifiers. Like I did power supplies, he did amplifiers. Expose yourself to as much and varied, education as you can, and you'll have it better than if you listen to one stupid idiot all the time. For those of you who wonder, I use a magnet, and I just bring it around, something like this, and picks up all the legs that just went flying off, because I'll show you here. Just a wall over there, nowhere for it to go. So they just bounce over there. Then I magnet them up. All right, now's a good time for this LED header, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I hate cutting these. They never, ever seem to look perfectly right to me. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I cut it here, should be all right. Yep. That will work. But I don't like where I put it. You see, these are the LED headers right here, or the 5 LEDs. But to hook them to pins, you have to go up over the LEDs. My bad. Poor design decision, I guess. It's a Rev 1 board. What do you expect? Perfection. We expect perfection. Well, look somewhere else, for I am but a human. I'm getting older, having trouble hearing, trouble seeing, trouble sleeping. Yeah, just an old guy, right? All right, so we need another fiber here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. And these are our grounds. So we have 1 ground there. We have another 5 grounds there. So that'll give us a place to work from. You don't have to ground the LEDs. They're already grounded. You just go from here to there, and it goes through the LED and then through those current limiting resistors there. That at least worked out pretty good. I'm running out of things to say. As you can see, this is kind of a large soldering project. So I'm going to tell you now, when we finish this soldering project, I'm going to test it to make sure it works, powers up. And that's going to be it for this, because we're getting to be pretty long. We'll come back and put us through its paces another time. All right, now we have the main header. It goes in like that. I'm going to turn the camera off. You don't have to watch me solder these all in here. Well, hopefully I didn't miss anything. We've got our main header here for all of our digital analog pins. We have these LEDs here, extra ground here, serial in here, power 7 to 12 volts in here through the regulator, crystal reset switch, programmable dip switches, power switch. Yeah, ain't nothing to do now but see if she works. Let me get some wires. All right, positive is yellow, negative is green. Always hook up our negative first. That way all your circuits and components all share the same ground reference. I'm not quite sure which way that switches goes for on. 7 volts, 100 milliamps in. All right, turn it off. Oh no. Oh. Okay. Why is that doing that? Anyway, we are pulling 11 milliamps. Not much. Interesting. Where did I put the power switch? The LED is after the power switch, so I don't know if I got a bad switch or what. Well, that'll have to be for another day, I'm afraid, because this video has gotten super long. So I don't want to keep you guys anymore. Big thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. Big thanks to you guys for watching this video. We'll come back, look at it. We're going to have videos, like I said, probably every day this week except for tomorrow. We'll see if we can figure out why that light's coming on when it power switches off. I mean, it's obviously working because when I click the reset, it went bling bling. So, not sure yet. All right. Thanks, guys. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you give me a thumbs up. Feel free to comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Big thanks to all the patrons. Again, big thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring these videos. That's it. I'm out. Peace.